What's going on, YouTube? Thank you for tuning in to another episode of Texas Street Stories. And if you haven't already subscribed, help your boy out and hit the subscribe button. On today's episode, we're going to be talking about Texas prison contraband. Is there money to be made off of it? And who controls it? Just yesterday, all prisons in Texas went on lockdown. So that means boiled eggs and Johnny's, peanut butter, like not even a scoop of peanut butter, and some boiled eggs. So they're on lockdown because since the beginning of this year, there's been 16 inmate on inmate murders, all related to the contraband. In Texas, well, not with my experience, it's just like the streets. Everybody wants to make money. Once everybody sees that there's an opportunity to make money, the violence tends to be put to the side. Everybody will tend to clean their own house if there's problems because there's money to be made. On my personal experience, when I went in 2001 to 2004, I was a short timer. But those 3 years would have been the same if I would have spent 5, 10, 15, 20 years. Because what I needed to learn to be able to survive, I learned that the first few months being locked up. So it wouldn't have taken me 10, 15 plus years to gain the in and outs of the prison. When I went to prison at 18, I was already, how can you say, my own man. I had younger guys under me on the streets that I was showing them the ropes, showing them how to get money, you know. So I already had the mentality of being somebody. I was already, before I went to prison, I was already doing $60,000, $80,000 transactions before I went to prison. That's just to let you know my mentality that I was going at 18 to prison. I was my own man. And the mentality I had. So like I said, the prisons are like the streets. If you were a crash dummy out here in the world, then you were going to be a crash dummy in the prisons. It's just the way it is. So when I got to prison, first unit I hit was Central Unit of Sugar Land, Texas. It was a minimum custody, dorms. I didn't really like it. There, I caught my first weed case. I get there, I start smoking from the people that had it there. So I start buying to try to flip. But people don't like competition. So New Year's 2002, I'm smoking with the homeboys under the fans. Right the next day, I get called to the office and I get drug tested. Right away, I get drug tested. I fail, locks me up. But previously, I had already got into a fight over the dominoes. But that case hadn't been brought up yet to get classified. So now having to fight in this, they reclassified me. Back then, You used to be able to write prisons here in Texas. Then they stopped. Back then, if you got transferred from a unit, you would take the name and number of the CIA of where you were at. So when you got to your new unit, you would just hand off that paper, and they would write off a letter off to that person to see what your paperwork was. So I get classified to medium custody. I go back through diagnostics, and then they ship me off to the WIN, medium custody. At that time, medium custody was just barely being open at that unit. So they were receiving a lot of people from Ferguson, Smith. There was a mixture in that unit. But there was money to be made at that unit. I noticed that right away. It was wide open to where once you got the land, the layout of the land, if you were smart enough and you had people willing to help you out, you were going to make money. Now let's get into how contraband gets in there. What is the contraband? Mostly bugler cigarettes, dip, weed, K2, any other substance people are requesting, Everclear, pills. How does it get in? Just like everything else. Visits, guards, or you set up a whole line. But that line is going to have, you got to have people out there in the free to help you to complete the line. The WIN unit had a trustee camp. They were free to roam the outskirts of the prisons without rarely being watched. They were out there. There were trustees. A lot of them were doing life. A lot of them were doing time that they just wanted to live in comfort. They had the privileges of coming and going as they pleased. Minimal supervision. That's why they were called trustees. So the trustees have access and freedom to roam a lot more than general population. At this unit that I was at, if you had people on the outside that were willing to risk it and drop you off packages to where the trustees could go out there and pick it up, that was the way to do it. But off the top, the trustee was getting either 50 or 25% off the top to bring it in. Slowly it would come in. Once in the building, now the money making starts. A pack of Bueller back in 2001 was going for 60 to 75 commissary. If you wanted one pack, it was 60 to 75 commissary off the top. But then alone, you can break that Bueller pack and make you 100 or 200, just depending. You'd make your money back in commissary. Cash money, anywhere from 2 to 5 packs for 100, just depending on the situation. And then you had You had your balloons with your subs. The balloons, you know, the balloons, they were going anywhere from, but nobody really bought balloons. The balloons were getting broke down, and everybody was buying, selling the pinners for like 7, 10, 15 bucks a joint. And you're talking about toothpicks. And then the money, the cash money. The cash money would either come from the visits, people sneaking in the cash money, or they would have the people on the outside sending money to somebody's accounts. But the thing is, once you get all that money coming in, how you gonna get that money out? Same way it came in, same way it gotta go out. You know, I'm gonna tell you my personal experience. When I was locked up, my homeboy from Houston, he had it locked down. He had the plug, he had the line set up. You know, it just happened that on this day, me and him had the same visit. But it just happened to be that my visit was called 10, 15 minutes earlier than his. So at this unit that we were at, you would come out the building to go to another little building to go get strip searched. And then you would come out that little building to go to the other building to get your visits. So you have this little window of time. So when I'm coming out from getting searched, my homeboy's on his way to get searched, and I'm on my way to my visit. But my homeboy calls me. He goes, "Come here, homeboy." I'm like, "What's up?" And he hands me a package. I put that package in my waist, and I act like I'm nervous. You know, I'm trying to fix my tight whites. You know, I'm waiting for him. I'm hoping he's fucking hurrying up, getting searched and searched. You know, I'm out here holding a bundle of cash, because that's what it is. It's a wad of cash. You know, I'm holding it. I'm lingering around a few seconds. I'm waiting. He comes out. So we start walking together towards the visiting room now, towards the visiting building. I hand it off to him. He goes, "I got you when we get back." And sure enough, ever since that day, that was my first month getting into that unit. My first month. And ever since then, I did my time comfortably. I had what I wanted. I did my 3 years in medium custody. And who controls it? Like I said, at that unit, it was wide open. Everybody that could set their line was setting their line. Nobody was flexing. There was money to be made. But the only times there was problems, it's just like when it's out here. People don't pay. People try to pull fast ones. People find people stashes, kitchen, you know, workstations, you know, outside. You know, it's the same thing out here. You know, same thing in there. Somebody could have found somebody's stash. Somebody didn't pay. Or somebody just said, "I'm just going to take your shit and not pay you." So there has to be consequences to that. Somebody has to pay. Out here, you can do that to somebody, and you probably won't even run into them again if you're lucky. In there, you're gonna see them, or you're gonna see somebody that's from their organization. So there is money to be made, and to live comfortably while you do your time. All these bodies that are piling up is for the contraband, and not really to control it, because it's already been set in place of who's controlling it and who's not. You know, because you go to certain units, they're controlling it. You know, it just depends on where you go. You know, a lot of these units are nearby where some of these organizations are headquartered from, and they run the prison. You know, it's just different in every prison. You know, I'm just speaking from the prison that I was at from 2001 and 2004. It was wide open. My homeboy had the plug. Everybody was making money. I seen it firsthand. Seen the balloons, the packs, commissary being dropped off, the money going out to visit, the money being counted in the cell. You know, I used to fall out of place when we knew we could, and big spread with my homeboy, tell war stories from Houston. I will tell my war stories from Dallas. You know, we were like-minded people. You know, he was a hustler on the streets. I was a hustler on the streets. You know, I went to prison for something stupid that I laugh at. Because there's plenty of stuff that I should be in prison for life. If not life, 40, 50, 60 plus. But I was smart enough to do what I had to do. Because I never went to prison for the things that I should have gone to prison for. But thank you for tuning in. You know, there is money to be made in Texas prisons. And who controls it? Whoever controls that unit. And it's different all around Texas. You got 100 plus units, and they all don't run the same. They all run differently. Thank you for tuning in to another episode. If you haven't already subscribed, hit the subscribe button.